Sit right down, let's talk on Blackwell's bench.
Thank you for saving me.
Hi folks, and welcome to Blackwell's Bench Special Edition. We're coming to you live today. We're going to bring you a documentary that was done in Baltimore. It was comprised of a lot of married couples getting together and talking about how they met, what it takes to be married, and how do you do this in Christian love. Today, we're going to explore that for you. Folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Hi, I'm Gerald Blackwell, and you're tuned in to Blackwell's Bench. This is a place where you can get good song, good word, and good teaching. This station was built on the foundation of Christ. All I have to say to you now is there's a seat for everyone on Blackwell's Bench.
There's a seat for everyone on Blackwell's bench.
Hi folks, we're back. We're back here to get to this documentary today. Today is a special day because we're going to dive straight in and show you that Christian couples have problems and Christian couples work their problems out, but what they work them out with is with God. They all work them out with God. Let's get right to the show today. And you can chat along with us in the chat box. Here we go. Christian love. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous. It does not brag. And it is not proud. Love is not rude. It is not selfish. And it cannot be made angry easily. Love does not remember wrongs done against it. Love is never happy when others do wrong, but it is always happy with the truth. Love never gives up on people. It never stops trusting, never loses hope, and never quits. Love will never end.
First met, I didn't think it was anything that God had aligned for either one of us, because I did see him when he was singing and I was like, okay, he's kind of cute. And then I had my best friend that I actually met in Florida. She told me a little bit about him. She was like, I think he has some kids. I was like, some? I was like, oh, well, I'm only going to be here for 2 years. I know I'm going to be here for 2 years. That's not the one for me. You know, God, he already know the type of man that I'm looking for. You know, I prayed a couple of times for certain things, you know, so I was like, I know. Right. So when we went to the Black History program, I was there with my best friend at the time and another sister in the church, and we were walking out together, and he was having a conversation with, I believe it was an elder or just another brother in the church, and he said, "Hi, I'm Dell." So I looked at him, I was like, okay. Like,
that was cool, right?
You know, so I just kept walking, and I told my friend, I was like, what is that supposed to mean? He's Dale, like, it's supposed to mean something because he's singing this group. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to mean something.
You see me? You know what I am? Like, I'm Dale. Like, I'm Dale. Okay, Dale. So I kept it moving. I was like, okay. First date,
Lord.
we were in the backseat with my best friend and the guy she was dating, and you know, he couldn't really hear me, so he was leaning over and he was like, "Oh, you want to kiss me?" I said, he tripping. See, this I don't know what kind of chicks he's into, but I said, no. I said, this definitely, you want to kiss? I said, no.
Come on.
No. I was like,
right.
So
we won't debate about that one. Yeah, I was really trying to just hear what she was saying, but but it's
But
good.
you did have a little, you had a line, because I was humming in the car. He was like, "Oh, you sing too?" I was like, he tried so hard. So I had a girlfriend that she wanted to go late skating, and my mom was very strict, so she really didn't let me participate in these type things, and it was shocking that she said yes. So when she said yes, of course I'm gonna go, because she normally don't let that happen. So I went and got to the place where the roller skating event was taking place, and the bus was late. So because the bus was late, we had a whole lot of time waiting for this bus. And for some reason, I kept bumping into this guy.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason. I don't know what the attraction was or whatever. So I kind of like asked him what time it was.
Mm-hmm.
And
when she asked me what time it was, I'm frustrated because the bus was late too. Remember, I didn't want to come. I came in for my brother. So when she come and asked me what time it was, rather than telling her what time it was, I just showed her my watch.
I was like, okay. So that was the first interaction. Then we got to the roller skating ring, and we got there. It was on a couple skate. He wasn't the person that I actually skated with at first. I skated with another guy, and this guy smelled like he just got off work. So when I got off the floor, I skated straight to him.
To me.
And I don't know how that happened,
and
I went straight to him, and I asked him, could he skate? And he said, I have on roller skates, don't I? And I was like, you're too smart. And then he like nudged me back, and I was like, okay. So we started skating, and we skated together for the rest. So we did couple skate actually for the rest of the night.
So we met in high school. We both attended the same high school, Northeast High School in Pasadena, Maryland. We started off as friends. We both played basketball. I played for the varsity girls team, and he played for the varsity boys team. But he never got any playing time. He was always riding the bench. And I always noticed him riding the bench, and I would be in the crowd always cheering for him, like yelling at the coach to put him in the game, because I knew he was good, but the coach would never put him in the game. And so over time we just became friends. We would play basketball together, and I had asked him to take me to my senior class homecoming, and he said no. And he was like, I don't know why he said no, he just said no. And I was like, okay, that's the end of it or whatever. And I went off I asked him again, I guess. It was like, well, why did you say no? And he said he didn't like dances, but he changed his mind and said he would go with me. So we ended up going to our senior year homecoming together. But then after that, he never called me or anything like that. And I went off to college and came back home one summer and saw him, and went up to the basketball court by the high school to go play, and saw him at the basketball court at the high school. And we just played together for a little bit, and then I was walking away, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll see you when I see you. And he decided for some reason to chase after me and ask me, he was like, do you want to go to the movie sometimes? And I was like, okay. So, and then we've been talking ever since then.
Well, I was cutting grass in the neighborhood, and she had just recently purchased a house in the neighborhood, and I was interested in keeping that lawn because I had like 8 yards in a row. So that's kind of how we first met. Interesting point though, the neighbors, they were more or less like, hey, looks like it's a single female over there. And I was like, look, I ain't got time for all that. It's me and my daughter, and I just want to work, So, but then, she, as you can see, this smile got my attention, and it was truly You know, it was bright. It was just lit up, and so from there, I was encouraged from by the neighbors to take a run at her.
I was coming up the sidewalk, and I think he stopped me and introduced himself. And when he introduced himself, instead of shaking my hand, he gave me dap.
Well, I was filthy from cutting grass.
Right.
You don't know me from Adam or Eve, so
Right, and I remember he had and he was looking like he was about 60 years old. I was like, who is this guy? But yes, that's how we met.
We met at college.
Yeah, UMBC.
At UMBC. And the way the true story is, another classmate of mine, we were riding the bus to school, and she says, "Ooh, I've got the perfect one for you, and you gotta meet her." I said, okay. So we went to the student union, and we sat down and talked for a while. She said, "Oh, she'll be coming in around 11:30, 12 o'clock. So I went to the game room, played some games. Then the young lady came out, she ran and got me, says, "Ooh, here she comes. So went to the student union, into the lobby area, I think it was the lobby area, and I'm sitting there, and Jackie walks in. She walks in, and I go, wow.
The effect I have on him.
She had wow factor for me. So I'm looking at her, and I'm just speechless. I didn't say a word to her other than hi. And then I left. She doesn't believe it happened that way, but that's how it happened. In 83, I went in the military.
Yeah.
And we go ahead.
In 83, when he left to go to the military, we were talking at that time, just as friends, and you asked if I would be your pen pal, because you were going in the Army.
Pen pal.
And I'm like, sure, all right, no problem, He was asking, I wasn't interested. I was like, I'm school and I'm going to work. That was it.
She never wrote.
I did not.
She never wrote.
I did not.
Hi, folks. I hope you've been enjoying this show. What we want you to do now is take a break and listen to some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Spear Productions will point your company in the right direction.
Hello world, this is Dorian Paul. I thank you for watching Blackwell's Bench. Come see me. Peace.
Jesus said in Mark 16, verses 15 and 16, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned." Colossians 3:16 says, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord."
Christian journey, there is no life of ease. Sometimes my enemies strike me, they'll knock me to my knees.
You don't want to miss Mission and Journey, the documentary of Kenya 2020.
I'm gonna stay on my mission and journey. Say, guide me, oh Lord.
What her aunt told me on the phone she was. I still remember we were at Dave and Buster's. This is like our first couple dates or whatever. So I guess she's talking at home about me or whatever. So we had David Buster, she get a phone call. She's like, it's her Aunt Sheila or whatever. So she's talking or whatever. We walk around playing games. She all of a sudden said, "My Aunt Sheila want to talk to you." And I'm like, okay, I ain't even talked to her dad or mom yet by this time. So she says, Aunt Sheila wants to talk to you. So I talk to Aunt Sheila. So Aunt Sheila gets on the phone and says, when you gonna just say y'all boyfriend and girlfriend? I said, huh? So I said,
I didn't know any of this, by the way. I was clueless to this.
Honestly. I said, we chilling right now. We just going out. You need to just go on and tell her that y'all boyfriend and girlfriend now. Stop playing. The rest of the conversation, I completely forgot, because the thing is, her aunt put us together. Literally, me, I was just out having fun. I was dating somebody else while I was talking to my wife. So
we can get into that too.
I was dating somebody else while I was talking to her. But it was one of the things where, it was about on his way out or whatever, but we were still officially together or whatever. So I was having my cake and eating it too.
But I didn't know anything about this.
No, she didn't.
I didn't know.
I kept her in the dark very well. But that's neither here nor there. I got her now. I got what I wanted and what Aunt Sheila wanted.
What you were given.
The first time we talked on the phone for hours, for a long time. And he said, his phone kept clicking. That's when you had a two-way line, click over. He was like, hold on a minute. And he came back. And he said, then it clicked again, hold on a minute. And I'm like, oh, what? He said, I'm telling you right now, I'm getting rid of all these girls.
I wasn't a Christian.
He said, I got my black book, I'm getting rid of everybody. And I'm like, oh, okay, for you. I was like, oh, okay. His phone rang. Our conversation got interrupted.
That wasn't the first time, though.
Our conversation got interrupted a lot. The first time.
I didn't say I'm giving everybody the first time we talked. No way. I ain't say that on the first call. Maybe on the sixth or seventh call.
All right, well, maybe
but not the first one.
The second call. But the first call, your phone was ringing a lot.
Yeah.
And you said, it's a lot of people calling. He said, but I'm about to get rid of them. I'm taking care of that. I'm taking care of them. That's what you told me.
Right.
But I knew he was the one because he was very honest and open and showed a lot of compassion towards me. And I could just tell there was really something true and good about him, that he wasn't just a regular, everyday guy just trying to, just say a whole lot of...
Be slick.
Yeah, be slick and sly, say a whole lot of stuff and didn't mean it. And plus, he was looking for a girlfriend. And he said he was ready.
She started her first year of college, and I kid you not, so she was gone all week. What? All week?
All week.
Yes, so she was gone all week. And I was in Cambridge, Maryland. That's where I live. And she went to college at UMES and Princess Anne. So that's about 45 minutes, depending if there's traffic, maybe closer to an hour. I drive every single Friday after I got off of work to pick her up, just so she could spend the weekend at home with me. And I take her back every Sunday after evening service. Every single weekend for the entire semester. And I remember thinking to myself one time, like, man, how much do you care for a person? If you're gonna,
all that
just
money.
Right. And we're talking about just for a day and a half, just so we don't have to spend an entire semester away from each other. But that's what I was willing to do. And it's not looking back at it as some huge sacrifice, but, looking at things like that, and I would have done so much more just so I could spend, a day, even a few hours around her. And, knowing that is, for me, knowing that, I wanted to be with this woman forever, for the rest of my life.
To be quite honest with you, it took a little while before I really determined that she was the one. Like I said, we met each other our senior year of high school. We talked a little bit during our senior year of high school, decided that we were going to date seriously toward the end of high school. And we wound up going to the same college. I was accepted to some out-of-state colleges, but at the last minute decided I would stay home and go to college. So we talked during college. We were young and 18 years old, so you really don't know what your wife is going to be. You're just kind of trying to figure things out. But eventually, during our dating process, she obeyed the gospel. And when she obeyed the gospel, we would go out and do a lot of things, and it came a point in time where, it was like I had came to a realization, like, man, I'm thinking about this girl. This girl has been on my mind for 2 years straight. It hasn't been a day that has passed that I haven't thought about her because, I care about her. And, during the process, we were still dating, and, she, like I said, she obeyed the gospel. It was one point in time where, she had said something. I can't remember what the discussion was, but she had made a comment about, the Lord wouldn't want you to do that because He cares about your soul, and I care about your soul. So realizing that this young lady cared about my soul was a big deal. And at that point in time, I was like, you know what, I need to be, we need to do something. We need to be serious about progressing in this relationship.
I knew she was the one when she was the one that was always trying to press me to get back to Christ. Like when we started going, I was basically being a double agent. I was living two lives. Sunday, I'm Brother Shannon. On Monday through Saturday, I'm Melvin the second. I did what I wanted to. My life during that time period was very, very wild. Mr. Drink, Mr. Party, all that type of stuff. So, but thing is, with her, anytime that Wednesday would come around, we go on a Wednesday night Bible study, I'd be like, no, I just play it off or something like that. So the thing is, she showed me wife qualities, but the most important thing was that she kept nudging me back to where I needed to be. This one may be the one because this is what my mom and my dad have always kind of pressed in my life as far as what you need in a wife.
I was the kind of person, when he introduced himself to me and told me about his family, he had already decided in his mind that all of his children were going to be in one home and in one place. And that predetermination so early in his life, at 18 and 19 years old, let me know that there were some things he was very serious about, and family is what he was very serious about. Eric's parents had been divorced, and he had different siblings in different households. But I think we both understood how important it was that children have a security, that they feel like that their parents are something they can depend on, there's something stable. And this is coming from a 17-year-old kid. And I already knew that that was the right way to go. Didn't know how to get there, but knew it was the right way to go. And if he already was there at 17, what was he going to be like at 20? So that was the distinguishing characteristic he had that really made me stop and say, stay here for a while. Stay here for a while. See where this goes.
Well, it started out from looks. People be lying. It was the looks. That was the first thing. And so her eyes kind of captivated me. Almost like an Egyptian woman's eyes. So it's just like, it just captured me the way, something about her eyes and her voice. But at first it was the looks. So then it was the phone calls. I would call her every day since then. I never missed a day. Every single day I would call her and we would talk. Actually, that's called, what is missing today, that's called courting.
Yes.
Okay? Not having an app and sending some kind of emoji telling people that you ready. That, and then the person come over. I know what they're doing today. This is courting. I needed to hear her conversation. I needed to hear her answers, plus what she was asking me. All that played a part in determining if she was the one. And meaning she was the one was that I was going to invest in her. Me. I wanted to invest. Whoever I was going to be with, I wanted to invest myself in them. And so I wanted to make sure that I could invest myself. And that's what determined if she was the one.
At the time, we were attending 13th Street. And our minister was Brother Freeman. And so, Melvin was a song leader. So I remember one Sunday, this is like, I don't know, maybe this is before I introduced myself to him and said, "Hi, I'm Jasmine." So I remember one Sunday after Melvin finished leading a song and Brother Freeman was getting up there to preach. And he was just like, "That young man to make someone a good husband one day." And I was like, mines. And so that's when the plan was started. And that's when I, introduced myself, like probably a few Sundays later. But yeah, so that's when I knew. So I always knew.
Hey folks, we'll be right back after these words.
The Maryland Christian Counseling Ministry Institute is fully certified by the National Christian Counseling Association. We invite you to learn more about us.
The Maryland Christian Counseling Ministry Institute is an institute of counseling. You can get your bachelor's, you can get your master's, where you can grow to be all you could be in Christ Jesus. Some folk want to come here to the institution themselves and take classes such as classes like this. And these classes are very good. They're very formal. They're built up. Our instructors are certified. They are degreed, and they're going to really bless you. Then there's others who like to take the online courses. They may not be too much into what we would call the in-class or campus format. They want to take them outside of the building, and that's all right as well, because the Maryland Christian Counseling Ministry Institute can help you to do that. Just go online at mccmi.org and click the Get Started button. Or you can call us at 844-855-MCCM. Give us a call. You'll be so glad you did. Get ready to be a people helper, because we do counseling and we do life coaching. We're trying to make a difference in this world using the Bible as our basis and introducing psychological principles as well. God bless you. Looking forward to hear from you. You take care now. Take care. Bye-bye.
I would say disagreements, not arguments in the sense of how people have arguments. Like 5 years into our relationship, we're at a marriage, like a couples retreat, and everybody's talking about problems, this, that, and her and I are looking at each other, and so we go ask, one of the Brother Bethea, "Hey man, we don't argue. What's up with that? Are we headed for a cliff?" He was like, "No, that's just y'all's demeanor." Well, it did finally come up about 6 years, I think, into it. Money. Daughter's in college. She wants to change, get her own room, and all of that. And it being placed in a position to have to make a decision, and I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place, and so I didn't discuss it with her like I should have. I pretty much brought it, laid it at her feet, and said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do," which didn't include her in the process, and that was very, very hurtful because of the time constraints. But I had that all wrong. There was a better way and a different way for me to handle that, because it was very difficult for us at that time. But I still have work to do.
One of our biggest challenges has been the roles that we have in our marriage. I think in the church, it's difficult for a strong female to be present in a marriage or in the church. Sometimes I feel like there may be some sexism going on, but a strong female can be looked at, people can be intimidated by that. And in our relationship, I feel like I'm like the strong female dominating type, and we can come to blows about that, like the roles that we had. And in the beginning, it was very difficult for me because I'm very outspoken. I can be very assertive, and he does not respond well to that type of communication. So over time, we've had to develop ways for us to communicate that that he's more receptive of and that I'm receptive of as well. I would say it became a lot easier because my husband made sure that I came first. So I think for a lot of blended families, the husband has to make sure that the wife comes first and that everything else will fall in order.
And fights and arguments, and you're going to have those, but you have to learn how to deal with them. I remember one specific time that we had an argument early on in our marriage that I got up to leave the house, and I got in the car and I started to drive one time, and she jumped on top of the hood. No, you're not going anywhere. And I'm like, oh, this woman's crazy. Man, maybe I didn't make the right choice here, but if you look at it, you see when someone really loves you strong enough, they're going to do what it takes to keep you around and make sure that things go right.
Something that we've recently dealt with has been infidelity. That's been a couple years of dealing with that, and it's when it first happens, you're kind of like, okay, it just kind of seems surreal. So it's easy a lot of times for me to deny, okay, there's not an issue. We got it. We're back on track. We're joking around. We're being loving. Everything's fine. And then when the same problem comes up again, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, okay, this is just the second time. And then something else comes along and it's like, okay, it's insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I had to look at myself personally and not so much at him, because I was only being weighed down by the sorrow of it all. I wasn't working on me. How can I change so he knows that I'm serious? So I had to basically give him some demands. You know, I've given you, not to toot my own horn, but I've given you these beautiful children. I cook, I clean. I've never thought about being with any other guy since we've been together. And, you know, this is going to happen. No, something different has to change because, and then my dad's a minister. Like, no, we can't go through this. But one thing my dad always said is sometimes you go through things not because you did anything wrong. Is to be a testimony for somebody else who might be going through that same situation. So, you know, that husband or wife that is going through a similar challenge, I can be that encouragement for them. Maybe, I mean, I learned some stuff during the process, but, you know, sometimes it's not all about you. It could be about somebody else. And so, yeah.
Actually, we both have health challenges. My health challenges have been consistent throughout our marriage, and then later on in our marriage, you know, Faith was diagnosed with lupus, and so we both kind of had health challenges that have been, you know, constant and consistent throughout our marriage. I think dealing with those and learning how to deal with those in the context of being married, where the health issue doesn't become the focal point of the marriage. It's tough, particularly depending on the severity of the issue. And I think we've been really blessed to be able to learn how to do that. Because if you're not careful, you know, one spouse can become the patient and one can become the caregiver. Right, so then you lose your husband-wife relationship because it becomes a patient-caregiver relationship. And that could be challenging.
That was very challenging for me, because when you talk about infidelity of any kind, because some people they consider infidelity. Okay, well, you went out and, you know, you cheated on your significant other. You had sex with somebody else. And, you know, that's not necessarily the case. I didn't go out and cheat on my wife. But there was a point in our marriage where, you know, I felt like the intimacy was lacking. You know, I felt like, you know, the sex was lacking. And as a result of that, you know, I was having, you know, inappropriate conversations with, you know, other women. And she found out. And so you're a detective. Yes, she is a detective. And she found out. And so, you know, dealing with that as a man, it's hard because, you know, number one, you know, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, so if I didn't get caught, would I still be doing it? Number two, you have to ask yourself, you know, I'm married to this beautiful woman, you know, we have 2 beautiful children. At some point, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I doing? You know, like, what am I doing?
You know, I am a caretaker. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but I'm still his wife. And, you know, I would always tell him that intimacy changes, you know, when you first get married, you know, your thought of intimacy is one thing, you know, and sometimes it's only one thing. But as you grow in your marriage and as you have various physical challenges, and if you grow old enough, you will have those physical challenges. We've had some of those challenges younger, so your intimacy becomes different. So, you know, we've learned to just move with every transition, and it's really made our marriage and our connection, physically, mentally, spiritually, even deeper. I mean, it's even deeper than you can ever think, just because of the challenges.
Me going into my addictions, that kind of rocked the whole house. You know, that rocked things, and you know, we would have some arguments once in a while, mainly because I was trying to hold the house hostage and get my way. You know, and then she got tired. We grew up. That's what happened. We grew up, and she grew up, and she got tired of my mess. You know, and you know, actually put it to me that we need to separate. And you know, and I couldn't believe it. You know, I was, you know, because I couldn't understand how she would want to be. And surely, so I told her, you know, think about it for a month. And the month came back, and she still felt that way. And that's when reality hit. You know, reality hit. You know, and you know, that was going on, and other things. My life was kind of I was falling apart. I was losing my direction, and I had to make a decision, and that's when I went to treatment, and that changed my life, and you know, that changed things. It was a game changer for the whole family and our relationship. And you know, I went on and I found Christ after 17 years of marriage, and she came behind me 3 years later. But that changed our life. That kind of turned everything to a whole different direction. That I truly would say God is it. You know.
Basically what we did was, you know, we went to God with it. We went to God, and you know, there was a lot of decisions we made in our life to attempt to, you know, rebuild and put things back in place where they needed to be, and you know, where they should have been all along. Yes, but as a man, me personally, I had to do some real, and I know it's corny to say, but I had to do some real soul searching, intense soul searching, just pretty much, you know, try to make myself the man, or, you know, not try, but do make yourself the man that she married. You know, that when we were standing at the altar, the man that she was looking in the eyes, you know, be that guy, be the one that she said I do to, and, you know, not the one who would betray her trust, and, you know, not the one that, you know, she has to look at and wonder, why did I bother?
Hey folks, we'll be right back after these words.
Praise God. Praise God. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inspirational Acapella. Nothing but the absolute best of praise gospel acapella. No instrumental music. Come on, sis. Sing it. Your host, Brian Malone. Well, if this program has blessed your life, tell somebody so it can be a blessing to them also.
I do this thing called the Friday night date. And that's time, that's me time. Take some time out for yourself to relax, re-energize yourself, to reconnect with your wife, reconnect with your family.
It has to be a presence of understanding God's purpose for your marriage and understanding that there's a friendship that needs to be there. The thing that was primary with us is we were friends before we were married. So we spent time with one another. We learned to love one another before we actually put on the vows, before we actually put on the rings. It's still a friendship. This woman is my best friend. At the end of the day, regardless of who's around me and what's around me, at the end of the day, this is who I go home with. This is the person that I spend the most time with. This is the person I have the worst arguments with, but also the person I enjoy the most times with. And so it's important to just understand that perspective and move forward with it, knowing that's what you're doing. You're trying to build something that's going to last. You're trying to build something that your children can see and model. You want people to understand that God did something great through you.
It's sort of like this. It's sort of like this. You'll never find bling, 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 bling.
It's the little things. It's actually the little things that you do.
Right.
It's going to make it last.
So you'll have your arguments. You'll have your fun times. You'll have your sad times. Another thing,
intimate times.
You'll have your intimate times.
Yeah.
And intimate times and intimate times.
Right. Get that bubble bath.
Yeah. Make sure you get a tub big enough for two.
Yes.
Intimate times. Yes. Sometimes some of those the things that you believe is going to pull you apart when you really look at the true measure of your love you have for one another. That thing, that little incident that you believe is going to pull you apart is really the piece of glue that's going to bind you together.
The biggest thing I learned is being able to adjust. You have to adjust, and you can't have unrealistic expectations. I hear people say, well, you change. You're supposed to change. That you can't stay the same. The situation changes. When we first got together, we didn't have a child for 3 years. So we had 3 years of bliss of running through the garden, being Adam and Eve, but then children came, you can't run through the garden like Adam and Eve. And so you have to adjust.
Whatever you, sometimes I don't realize how long we've been together, how long we've been married, because it's so comfortable. It changes as we change. And it's who we are. We don't have to make it up. We just have to grow into it. So I would advise them to understand that they must trust each other. And they must trust each other in the most intimate ways that no one else is able to come between.
And it may sound cliche, but it is oh so true. Communication. Communication is extremely important. Prayer, first and foremost.
Pray together.
Pray together.
Pray together every day.
Every day.
First and foremost, obviously you have to have God in the center of your marriage. And I don't mean that just in a superficial way, because people say that, well, yeah, we go to church and we do this and we do that, right? But what I really mean is for each individual, God has to be the most important thing to you individually, first and foremost. And then when you come together, I think it's easier to deal with certain challenges if that's really the case. Because having God as the focal point of your life individually, hopefully will allow you to be less self-centered in your relationship.
You gotta keep God first. You have to have a relationship with the Lord. That's so important because He is the foundation that keeps everything together, and you have to pray together and study together, and the Lord is the key to a successful marriage. And you have to know how to communicate effectively with one another. No arguing. Well, I mean, argue not to the point where you don't speak for days and hours, and you go to bed so angry that you can't even say, I love you and good night.
The one thing I really love about our relationship is that we laugh with each other. We always have like inside jokes between like him and I, and you know, things that I know that only he gets, and so we can be, you know, little kids together, just like giggling and everything. But your spouse is supposed to be your best friend, and he hates that I don't say he's my best friend because he's my husband. I feel like there's more to that, but you know, I definitely think us laughing together, because then it's something that our kids see. It's like, oh, mommy and daddy like each other, mommy and daddy can laugh with each other. And then you want to be an example to other people as well. You know, don't take yourself so seriously. Like when I get upset about things, he'll like mock me, and now I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I am overreacting or acting like my mom, or that's his favorite thing to say. But yeah, definitely being able to laugh with each other, I think.
You know, put God first in your marriage and it'll last long. But, you know, practically, what does that mean, right? This sounds like a sermon, but how do you live that? You know, you gotta realize that you're not perfect, right? And the love of Christ has forgiven you for all the things that you've done wrong, right? So if we're seeking to serve the Lord, and then by seeking to serve the Lord, we'll make sure we serve our spouse, right? So just as Christ has forgiven you for the things that you've done wrong in thought and deed, you got to make sure you take that same attitude with your spouse, right? You be patient with them. You love them unconditionally. You know, love is not a feeling, love is a choice, right? You know, regardless of how she makes me feel, sometimes I choose to love her. I don't let my emotions drive my decisions, you know, in this relationship. And, you know, I try to make sure that, you know, seek God first, love the Lord, and in loving the Lord, I'm going to make sure that I love my wife, right? Because the Lord tells us how to love one another. He tells us through his example, right? So I make sure that I try to emulate Jesus's love to my wife. And, you know, even, you know, I'm not perfect, but even if I miss the mark a little bit, if I'm shooting for perfection, then I'm a land somewhere on a good side if I'm shooting for perfection in the way I love her. So, you know, keep the Lord first and make sure that you love your spouse the way Christ loved you.
Can I talk to the dudes for a minute? You can talk to the brothers real quick. Listen. You gotta make sure, brothers, I'm talking to the brothers, don't get married if you're not finished. That's one of my things I always tell the brothers. Now, even if you do have a relationship with God, you know, there's some brothers that have a relationship with God that just have a hard time controlling sexual desire. Because once you do it, you know, that's a hard, you know, you can't put that back in the barn. And so it's hard to, yeah, you know. So, you know, it's like trying to chase a wild horse. It's just a wild horse. You got to catch it, you know, and tame it, you know. Lord. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that when I met Sister Wilkie, there was no one else. When I focused on her, there's no plan B. Okay? Meeting a woman, when you meet the woman, there is no plan B for me with her. There's no, well, what if something happened or there's no plan B. She's it. That's it. That's the mindset. And when you go into that mindset, then when you have disagreements and things of that nature, it's my mindset is, how do I figure it out? Okay, we got to figure this out, how this going to work. What do I need to sacrifice to make this work? Not how can I win the argument or anything like that. What do I need to sacrifice? So if both of us are sacrificing,
right,
then we'll meet in the middle.
But we are different in comedy, things that I guess you could say set us off, everything. We are complete opposites, but spiritually, we are like hand to glove. That's I guess that's the thing that makes us work. Just like you hear about other couples saying that the Bible was the standard. We always come back to the Bible. Literally, that's us to a perfect T. We can always come back to the Bible. Now the thing is, my wife may come back to the Bible before me, which is the usual case, or I'll come back to the Bible on my own. But the thing is, when it comes to our spiritual progress as a Christian, we see a lot of the same things the same way. We never really conflict too much spiritually on what God has brought as far as his will is supposed to be for a husband and a wife. So I think even though you may not be compatible as Dr. Phil or eHarmony or somebody would say, if God wants something to come together, it's going to come together and it's going to stay together.
And the Bible is the final authority, meaning we decided in our marriage midway that the Bible is going to be right. We don't have to be right about everything. It's not about who's right, it's about what's right. So the Bible says it. If she think I'm messing with the kids too much when they was growing up, and the Bible says, provoke not your children to wrath. Yeah. I'm a listener to that. I'm a listener. At least while she's around anyway, listen to it. And not provoke my children to wrath, because that's what the Word of God say, and that's just how we did it. And it worked because when God is in the picture, God always works, and God always makes any marriage a winning marriage. You can win with Jesus Christ, I promise you, but you only can win through Jesus Christ.
If God is the common denominator in both of our lives, when you add those two together, that common denominator remains the same. It's always God. So that's what we have built our relationship on, is seeking God first. And the Bible teaches us to seek first the kingdom, and then everything else. And that's something that I really feel like we as young people, we miss that part of it. We seek out the other stuff first and then want to put God in it in order to achieve it. No, seek God first. Because once you find God and you are true to God, everything else, all that you ever want, all that you ever need, will be given to you. So that is literally the basis of our relationship, is always putting God first.
Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this show. We brought this to you especially for you. And right now, we're all together and we're all loving each other. We hope that this has been special and special to you. Folks, please, in the comments below, I know you've been texting all night and saying, ooh, just share this video with others. Share this video with others. And we thank all the people that participated in this video. There's too many names to be named, but they all are mentioned in the video. Folks, we thank you. We thank you for tuning in today. And like I always say it with me, there's a seat for everyone on Blackwell's bench.
We've been married 36 years. Those first 4 years were rough. I mean, let's be clear, they were rough. And the reason they were rough was because our expectation was that we were just going to, I'm going to take away from mom, we're going to service, we're going to do all this stuff. And it didn't turn out like that. In fact, it got to a point in the beginning of the marriage where she was working. I would stay home with the children. And staying home with the children, I'm not being a good father to the children because the children they're Eric and Erica, they're babies. And they're running around in their high chair and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there, I'm playing video games. Not the good games that they play today, but, the dot game. Doing football and all that stuff, the dot ones though. And what happened is that the baby would get hungry and start crying. And, the baby needs some dinner. And I just kept a box of crackers right there. And the baby be going past and the baby crying. I said, baby, want a cracker? I get a baby a cracker and the baby be happy and everything. Then baby come back an hour later, baby want a cracker, get baby a cracker. And 5 hours later, the baby come back. They want a cracker. Now this cracker will put the baby to sleep, because put the baby, I dip it in some milk and give it to her. So put the baby falls asleep in a hot chair in the walker. And then so the Thea would come home, and she come home, her baby sitting in this chair, pamper ain't been changed, and crumbs all over the face and stuff like that. And I'm playing football, Atari football, and when she come in there, she be saying, did you change the baby? What's up with the baby? And I said, the baby ain't say nothing. But the baby, I think about it now. What am I talking about? I'm young, we're young. You 20 years old, 21 years old. And so she hot. She is mad. Then we get in an argument. And since Bethia back then didn't have she would get mad. So she pick up a bottle and throw it at me. And I'm ducking bottles. I said, hey, I'm picking up a bottle. And I'm not trying to throw it at her, but I'm picking up a bottle. I'm threatening. You better stop. And all of a sudden she throw it. I ducked and she run over to me. And I got to grab her and hold her. Then I got to push her on the ground. And I got to just stop her so she won't hit me. And when she after me, I said, don't hit me anymore. She said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I said, don't hit me anymore. She said, I won't if you let me up. Did you promise? She said, yeah. And I let her up. Bam! So, that was rough. And then we're 3 years into the marriage, and I got a job. I'm working, but I had the money. She wasn't working. We're on our way to church one morning, and I'm mad at her. So I decided to say, she said, the baby needs some milk, because we ran out of milk and everything. I said, I ain't buying nothing. And she like, huh? I said, I ain't buying nothing. If you ain't got no money, that's on you. And so I go down there, get on 895. We find that 895. And then all of a sudden, I'm driving. She said, you ain't getting baby no milk. I said, no, I ain't getting the baby no milk. She grabbed the keys out the ignition, tried to throw the car in reverse while we driving down 95. And I'm holding up behind me. I'm trying to give her my wallet. Here, take it off. And I'm fighting up the car. She's trying to kill us on 895. And she said, my baby can't have no milk. We all gonna die in there. And I'm like, again. And, so I got the baby some milk. We took care of that. And again, and we got over it. I went back, I apologized, and she apologized. It was, and we got over it. And again, that's those initial years of marriage when you're making a period of adjustment. You learn each other. Now I know this woman will hurt me, so I figured I'm making a period of adjustment because I don't want to go through that. And what wound up happening is, again, our love got stronger as we reconnected and recommitted ourselves one to another. And then so after that, the last 30 years have been wonderful. They really have been very good. But them first 4 to 6 years, man.
There's a seat for everyone on Blackwell's bench.